Quick fun video for this week, versatile tool holders that hit all the marks. Easy to make, inexpensive, they look great, and they'll keep some of your most frequently used tools close at hand. All right, stay tuned. Recently made a shop tour video, hope you had a chance to check it out, and during the course of the video I showed off a couple of tool holders. One over there by the lathe holding my turning tools, of course, and this one over here, sort of a catch-all, marking gauges, rasp, carving axe I've never used once. So now I thought it would be a good time to show you how they come together. Now there are two versions of the tool holder. We'll do this one first because it's a little bit easier, but they're both dead simple. Now with this version, the tool drops in straight from the top. Works great. But when we have larger tools, like this turning tool, the handle could start rubbing against the wall. So the tool won't seat properly and it makes it hard to grab because you can't get your fingers around it. Whereas with this version, the entryway for the tools is pitched forward 5 degrees, which gives us all the clearance we need for the handles and also makes the tool easy to grab. So let's quickly go over how the simpler one is made. It really couldn't be any easier. We're going to need 2 pieces of equal dimension. You could fiddle with these dimensions as much as you want. They're not critical by any means. I like to use 1/2 inch thick material, and you're going to make it as long as you want your holder to be, and I like to go 3 inches wide. You can go 2.5, 3.5, really doesn't make a difference. Then you're going to need some spacers. Now the thickness of the spacers is going to determine the width of the opening that the tools slip into. In most cases I like to go with 5/8 of an inch thick. For the turning tools though, I did go up to 3/4 of an inch. I think that works well for that. You're going to want 1 spacer for each far end, then space out the rest of your spacers, but every 10 or 12 inches. That way it gives your structure nice support and rigidity. And when you're ready to assemble everything, yellow glue is fine. This is all face grain to face grain. Yellow glue is going to be super strong, no other fasteners needed. But before we do that, we need a way to mount this to the wall. Now I guess we could just screw it into the wall, but we're woodworkers, we're not monsters. We're going to use keyholes. Now using keyholes are great because they give a nice clean look and they keep the fixture really tight against the wall. We're going to need a few things to make this, none of them terribly expensive, and some you may already have. A keyhole bit, a trim router, an upcut spiral bit to take out the bulk of the waste, a 5/8 bushing, and that bushing is going to ride in our picture frame keyhole template. How the keyhole bit works. There's a cutter here, there's also a cutter along this post. So when your fastener goes in, it slides in a wider channel than this one up here, which is why it is incredibly important when you make that initial plunge, do not raise that router until you come back to the beginning. To attach the spacers, we're going to do what's called a rub joint. Let's start with the piece that goes against the wall, the one with the keyholes routed in it. We're just going to put a little bit of glue on our spacer. I struck lines where I want them to go. Just going to line it up, and as the name of the joint implies, just rub it back and forth until it starts to grab. And that's it. I'll do the other 3, give it about an hour to dry, then I'll attach the front. Now once your glue is set up and you don't have to worry about these guys sliding around, we could put a little bit of glue here and we'll attach the front face. And for this we'll throw on some clamps. Now for the version with the 5-degree tilt, my lumber is 3 7/8 inches wide. It's not a cut I'm comfortable making on the table saw because as I'm running it through, it'll be running on the narrow edge and I'm afraid of it tipping. So what I did was I tilted my bandsaw table 5 degrees. I'll make the cut here and then I'll clean up the faces on the jointer. Okay, we're done at the bandsaw. We have our 2 angled halves. The inside faces have the rough bandsawn edge. We're going to run this over the jointer to smooth things up. And when we're done, we want the wider edge to be around 3/4 of an inch. Again, if it's a little shy or a little bit more than that, not a big deal. So we have our 2 angled halves, which go together to make a rectangle. And next step is spacers for these guys. Now, if we cut our spacers for this at 90 degrees, we're going to have a gap because this piece was cut with a 5-degree angle. So we'll just cut these at a 5-degree angle on each end and everything will be nice and flush. We'll attach these spacers the same way we did for the other version. Through trial and error, I've determined that 1 1/8 inches is a nice amount of space to leave for my turning tools to slide into. So that's how big my gap will be. Now I have about 7 or 8 turning tools where I want the spacing to be the same between each divider. So instead of measuring each one out individually, I made a spacer of my desired width. I'll put it there. I'll put a little bit of glue on my spacer, put it in place, rub it back and forth a bit, get a pin nailer, and I could quickly do the next one. So I have my desired number of dividers attached to the back panel. Again, I made extras, so in the future, when I acquire more tools and I know how much space I need in the rack, I just put a little dab of glue in there and slide in a divider for the appropriate width. Now I'm just going to attach this the same way I did with the other. Put a little glue, then we'll attach this to the face and clamp it. And there we have it. Storage for 8 turning tools, room for about another 8, and a really nice, neat, sharp looking unit. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, like, subscribe, share, maybe send it to your spouse. If your spouse is anything like mine, she loves nothing more than watching woodworking videos. Thank you so much. Any questions, comments, criticisms, whatever, put it down below. I'll be glad to answer each and every one. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.